Hello, everybody. I just noticed that I never completed my little talk about how to become a professor in South Africa, meaning that I didn't do a part two. So, part of the part two was to actually look at or break down the four pillars that make up academia. All right. And those four pillars are the following: they are teaching, there are research and innovation, depends where you're working. Some institutions just call it research, some call it research and innovation. The third one is institutional leadership, and the fourth one is community engagement. Right. Now, the first one, when it comes to teaching, usually when you are employed, all right, as a lecturer, you are either employed with a master's or with a PhD in a stream of chemistry that you were taught in, or the stream of chemistry that you specialize in at postgraduate level, meaning that the stream of chemistry that you did a project in masters, or did a project in PhD. So it could be analytical chemistry, it could be physical chemistry, or electrochemistry. Sometimes it's merged, sometimes it's not merged, depending again where you got your training. It could be organic chemistry, it could be inorganic, or organometallic chemistry, or environmental chemistry. So there are many streams of chemistries that one can specialize in. So when you get your employment, it means then you will teach in that area of specialization, all right? And you are then expected to create content in that specialization, teach, grade, and also to grow that specialization at your university. Now, the growth of that specialization is what's going to move you from lecturer to senior lecturer, associate professor, and then full professor. Right. Now, the second stream, or the second pillar, is that of research, or research and innovation. So, typically what people do, or lecturers do, academics do, is that they continue to specialize in projects which they did at master's or PhD level. All right, so I'll give an example with myself. I did a project on electrochemistry at master's, looking at the detection of SSIRs, which are antidepressants, a class of antidepressant, serotonin, selective serotonin reuptake inhibitors are what they are called. So I looked at the use of nanotechnology, which at the time was silver nanoparticles together with polymers, to create a sensor to be able to detect these drugs. So automatically when I moved to PhD, I used the same model, all right, the same sensor model, but now I was looking at TB drug detection. All right. So when I completed my PhD, my training to my students was more in that line. However, I had to grow it. So I didn't just limit it to sensor development for various drugs, meaning that because I knew how to do it with antidepressants and TB drugs, I grew it to cancer drugs now, because I was training my own students. And then I changed from conventional means of making nanoparticles to the use of green materials to make nanoparticles. And I also looked at other areas of interest, water purification. I also looked at the eradication of toxic microbes that are found in water, in dentures, various parts of the body. That was just part of some of the interest, all right? So the expectation was then to grow what I had learned in master's and PhD through the supervision of my students. My students would then pass or do projects at postgraduate level. When they're done, they graduate. So that counts to the building of my CV. Okay, so that was done nicely. So I was able to move up: lecturer, senior lecturer, associate professor, and then full professor now. However, as you are moving with your research, there are different expectations at each level. Okay, so some institutions will tell you, listen, for you to move from senior lecturer to associate professor, we need you to have, let's say, 2 PhDs graduated as the main supervisor, meaning that you are the one that sourced for funding, you're the one that ensured that the project was registered, the student came through your recruitment. And then they would say, okay, maybe another 3 or 4 as co-supervision, meaning that you're working with another colleague and both of you are supervising, but you are the second supervisor to that project. Again, the numbers may increase per level. It all depends where you are employed when it comes to that. But the expectation is that you have to train students. Okay, they must graduate. You must publish, your students must publish. So there's an expectation with that research. And also the other thing is that universities gain money from the Department of Higher Education or the Department of Science and Innovation through the publications of the researchers at the university. So the more research conducted in the university and more students graduate, undergraduate and postgraduate level, the university is able to get income from that. So it's very important that academics are really active when it comes to research. Now, the new thing is that the teaching in this new era of academia needs to be informed by research. It is very important that the teaching is informed by the research. And also, the research needs to be informed by what the community needs. All right. So, at government level, there are areas of interest which the government want researchers to focus on. Okay, that's the national strategic plan of the government. All right. Also, places like the Water Research Commission as well, they want you to research within the identified water needs, if I may put it that way, where there is a drastic need for water change, water improvement policies, detection, ways of detection, ways to preserve water in the country. So if your project doesn't align with that and you apply for funding, you will not get the funding. So you need to also be aware of what are the issues in the country. Are they aligned with what the government wants? Because I didn't mention this, your research needs to tie in with all of those things so that when you apply, especially when national funding within the country through the National Research Foundation and also the Technology Innovation Agency, TIA, Water Research Commission, Medical Research Commission. It depends. I'm a scientist, so there are other areas that people may be applying from, also government as well. You need to be talking to what they need. You need to be talking to their strategic plans and also to the strategic areas in which they want you to improve. All right, that's how you would get your research funding to buy your chemicals, to make sure your students have bursaries, make sure that your lab is running, students are traveling as well, you traveling, go to conferences to present your studies. Okay, so community engagement is important, and this is where community engagement comes in, because if you actively engage with the community, you tend to understand what people need, not just to sit in your silo, come up with a project. After coming up with a project, you come up with a solution, but you've never really seen the project. You've never been to the community. And unfortunately, most of us in our initial training, that is what we did. But things have changed now such that people or scientists go into communities, or researchers go into communities, they assess what is needed, and they develop their research projects around all the issues that they found in these communities. And once they come up with those solutions, these are the things that they are now able to create teaching content around, because you want a graduate to be able to graduate and answer solutions within communities, or solutions just in the country and its economy, and how maybe the economy can potentially grow through the innovations of the research. Okay. Now, the other thing is institutional institutional leadership. Okay, institutional leadership means the committees that a researcher may be involved in, or a lecturer. So you may be involved in a community engagement committee, or let's say health and safety committee, or research committee at faculty level, teaching and learning committee. There's so many things one can be involved in at the university level or departmental level. All right, so the more involvement you are, it couples, or it becomes the fourth pillar in these four layers, so that now you are seen as a multifaceted person. It's difficult, obviously, to hold all of these things in place and to excel at them all at the same time. All right, so what's generally needed is a strategy. These 2 years, this is what I'm going to focus on. These 2 years, this is what I'm going to focus on. Some people are better multi functioners than others. They'll be able to excel at all of these things all at the same time. All right, good for them. Some people cannot, but people have to work with the plan as to say, okay, in 3 years, I want to apply and become a senior lecturer. What do I need to get there? You need to be intentional about what you want for yourself, but you also need to be intentional about the work that you're employed to do, meaning that you have to answer to the call of your duties of your institution, but at the same time, you have your own personal goals to say that at this time, this is what I want, and this is how I need to get, this is what I need to do to get to where I want to be. So that's the fourth pillar. So just to recap, it is teaching, it is research, it is community engagement, and it is institutional leadership. Now, community engagement is sometimes just looked down on, but I'm happy now institutions are taking it very seriously, that people need to engage with community. And the reason for this is, sorry, the government has seen that there are areas within our country that need people or researchers to engage in, or they need researchers to be walking the walk, go to these places, go to communities, and really find solutions that answer to the needs of the country and the needs of people within communities. So that is why we now have all of these 4 pillars in order for one to move up from lecturer up to full professor. Again, just to repeat myself, is that for each level and for each institution, there are different requirements for each level. It's not the same for all institutions. So what's important is what is needed. Am I doing things the way that they are meant to be done ethically? And am I ready to apply? I remember when I applied for senior lecturer, my application didn't move forward to be seen by the committee. It was stopped at faculty level. And the reason for that, my application was viewed as being not ready. At the time, it was very heartbreaking for me. But when I reflect back, it was the right decision, because when I then reapplied in a year's time, my application was stronger and I got the promotion to senior lecturer. So sometimes you may be told you're not ready, or go and do A, B, C, and D, and you feel within you that you're ready to apply. But people that are invested in your progress. So that is why mentorship is very important, that as an academic to have a mentor, because they'll tell you the truth that, listen, it's okay, just try again and just fill in the holes of where you want to be. But I must say to my fellow colleagues is that doing our job correctly is the most important thing. I know it's not easy. There are challenges, there are family challenges, there's health challenges. There's so many things that happen in one's life. So it may take one longer to reach the stage of any kind of promotion level because of personal things that happen. We're human. Things happen. Some people reach full professorship much earlier on in terms of age than others. It's not the same for everybody. So we need to be kind to ourselves in that sense. So I just thought, let me just finish up that part. But I think what I'm going to do is, as I think of things and as I'm drafting things down, I'll be sharing more and more and more. So somebody gave me an idea inside my household here, that why don't you just have a little bit of section in the Sociable Chemist podcast channel, and that small section will be under courses, and it will be the Sociable Chemist Academy. And this is where I'll be sharing some academic tips, sharing content for free, some downloadable for free, some maybe at 10 Rand or 20 Rand, just to help me recreate content. Because I think that young researchers especially, they need information in order for them to excel. And guess what? We do need researchers in our country in different areas of society. So that is why I'm doing this, and I really enjoy it. So take care. I am Fanny Rwangeki Ajayi, and I am your sociable chemist that is currently thriving with the disease or the condition of fibromyalgia, hence the purple. So thank you so much, and take care, everyone. Bye.